Welcome to Don't Be Caged by Your Age, Lori. I'm so happy you're here to share your insights, stories, and pro-aging advice with our listeners. How you doing?
Oh, Andy, thank you so much for having me. You are my heroine, a delight, and I'm amazed to be here. Thank
Well,
you.
I am so thrilled that Jeremy Quant introduced us from Dot Red. We both love Jeremy. He's
You
phenomenal.
phenomenal.
Before we dive into our delicious conversation, Lori, please share with listeners your age and where you're hailing from.
I'm from Los Angeles, and I live in Los Angeles right now, and I will be 72 in August because I'm always looking ahead.
I'm
Ahead of
August
time.
10th.
Yeah, August 11th. We are one day apart. Oh
Oh
my
my gosh.
God.
This is so delicious. I love when that happens, listeners. Yeah, Lori, you have decades of lived experience that is so extraordinary. You have so much talent. You're a phenomenal artist, designer, all the things packaged into you. We could go on forever just about what you've done over the last
Thank you.
5 decades. But can you share a few super fun, surprising, or wild stories from your
Mm,
career
super
and
fun.
life?
So one of the greatest delights I had was, believe it or not, when I was in my late 20s, I get a random call, and these are magical calls that come out of nowhere, and you go, wow. And as you know, the Olympics comes up every 4 years, and there was an Olympic game in 1984 in Los Angeles. And I was in my late 20s. I had been working a few years as a graphic designer, and I had done various wonderful things like album covers and posters and murals for stores. And I get this call and said, someone was a fan of my work, and would you be interested in being one of the artists being considered to design the official poster for the 1984 Olympic Games? They were going to choose 12 artists, and they started off with 200 people to present an idea. And I thought, wow, that's such an, I would honor to just even be asked for that. And I was one of the artists chosen. So my poster is part of Olympic history and goes with every 4 years with the games and is in the Olympic Museum and will be in Paris this summer.
Oh my gosh, Lori, I
Is that
am
amazing? I mean, that was like, okay, talk about a wow moment. To be part of that is, it gives, still gives me the chills.
You're right. That is a thumbs up, a you're in the right place at the right time. It was so validating for you, right?
So validating, and you nailed it about being in the right place or whatever. I was just minding my own business, doing what I love, and that's, I think, the key to everything. And that would be just, I would say, absolutely a memorable, wonderful moment in my career. And another one was I've had numerous shows in Europe, which has been an honor, in Paris and Brussels. And I was in Brussels at an art fair. I was with my husband, and I was having a carpet line that I designed being premiered at the Cube Art Fair in Brussels. And there was a fancy black tie dinner, and we were there having dinner. And the person who I had done the rug line with comes up to me and hands me during the dinner Perry Match magazine. I don't know if you're familiar, but Perry Match would be the equivalent of, let's say, the Life magazine, Time magazine, a major publication in Europe, right? And open it up, double page spread with a picture of me and the collaboration story about our rug line in Europe. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was out of nowhere. And fast forward a couple of days, we're on a plane leaving Brussels, going to Bordeaux. And you know how when you're on the plane, the stewards are passing out magazines. Would you like to read something? Well, Perry Match was, of course, the magazine that they were passing out. And the person next to me opens it up, and it's there I am. And I said, c'est moi, because I've been studying French now for 9 years. And that was another, just you get the chills, something you're just so proud of. And it's just, you pinch yourself because you can't believe that this is happening. And
Oh my gosh, listeners, do you feel the
yeah.
same way I do? Like, I take such joy in hearing Lori's wonderful magical moments. I feel like it happened to me.
Oh, you're sweet. No, but those are the moments like, and I had a fashion design. I was on a spring line in London. When you get those magical surprises that you're not expecting,
Oh,
and after working, for many years, it's a delight.
it is a delight, and we will take it. Say yes to life, everyone.
Well, you know what, Andy, you just said it. I'm trying to do that even more. I mean, sometimes we say no out of fear that we think we can't do something or we're not capable of something. but don't say no. You don't know where things lead you, and we can figure things out. That's what I realized. If I don't know how to do something, I ask questions. I figure out, how can I do this?
My favorite Tina Fey quote is, "Say yes and you'll figure it out later."
That's exactly right. Because none of us, when we're doing something new, we don't know how to do it yet.
Oh my gosh.
So if we think, okay, I can do that, but who can I call? Who can I ask? And that's where we call upon community, or we pick up
Right.
the phone, or we Google something. How do I do this?
Laurie, you have hit the nail on the head regarding not only doing new things, listeners, but and trying new things, but also understanding that we have to be beginners. Doesn't matter your age. You're
Doesn't
going
matter.
to be a beginner at something else, and you've got to embrace that beginnerhood, that beginner journey, and go, okay, I'm going to be stumbling a little here, but it's going to make sense eventually. And I bet there's somebody I know that can help me, or, as we like to say at the Lyons Den, there's a YouTube video for that.
Isn't that true? Just so you know, I don't really do well with technology, but that's why I call people to help me. If I can't know how to do something, the good things is lots of people around that can.
Well, and as I always say, don't hesitate, delegate, folks.
You got
Seriously.
it. Don't hesitate, delegate. I love that. That's
And
adorable.
And also, Laura, you obviously were there. You were prepared because luck equals opportunity plus preparedness. So
Absolutely.
when the Olympics called, when the magazine called, when the collaborations were happening, you were prepared. You were prepared to say yes. You were prepared to be open. You were prepared for the opportunity. And that's what our role is at any age in stage. But as you reflect back on your life, Lori, as you were entering your 50s, what thoughts and mythologies did you have about retirement and aging into your 60s and 70s and beyond? Because you and I were both indoctrinated to what women were supposed to look like and what they should be doing at this age and stage.
It's true. I don't, first of all, think that retirement applies to me at all, because as an artist, first of all, I'm unemployable. I work for myself. I've never been able to really hold a job. So let's just be clear about that. So, I'm a creator. I create projects and things come to me. And I've been very blessed that I've been able to do what I do in my life, and I do what I love. So I never even thought of the idea that I wouldn't work until I'm dead. I mean, literally. So retirement, that's a question that I have to say doesn't really apply, um, because I'm not at an age where they would say, goodbye, you're done, you're 65, you're out of here. In fact, I'm so motivated and honored to be an artist, because you see all these women, especially now, who are doing amazing things in their 90s, 80s, 90s, and above, and many of them having their first shows in their 80s. It's astounding.
It's so don't be caged by your age.
It is
Right
so.
there.
It really is. And so I think that, as you said, the stigma probably is still there in some fields, in many fields, but not as much in the arts. But hopefully that's changing now. We
Well,
can.
I just saw, or I may have even shared this on TikTok and Instagram, the 96-year-old artist who was talking about his paintings in his loft in New York City. But he talked about the day he was walking down, I don't know, some avenue near the Guggenheim, which had just opened.
Mhm.
And the director of the Guggenheim said, "Oh, can I help you?" He ran into the guy and saw his artwork and said, "Oh, I want to carry you at the museum." So yeah, things like that.
Wow.
It just so
Talking about
incredible.
magical moments. I mean, those are the things that, well, part of it is just show up, do what you love, continue. It's the people that do all the work all the time that catch on to things. And if you really are working at what you love, eventually things happen.
They really do.
You
And
really do. Just believe. You have to really believe and just go for it. I think that, you have to be careful not to let fear get in your way.
that's right. And listeners, if any of you are artists and thinking that you might want to do more or delve into different mediums for art, let us know. Connect with us on Instagram or on LinkedIn, or you can always tap that mic on my website and leave me a voice message or an email. I'd love to know what you're doing and what thoughts you're having about your artist's way, and if perhaps you want to reach out to Lori, I'll have all the contact info in the show notes. So, Lori, What is fueling your passion today? How are you continuing to glow and grow as you age? And what lights you up about your life right now?
Well, let's see. There's so many things. Where do we start? I would say, curiosity is such an important element in everyone's life. Be curious, be interested in people, be interested in things, go to museums, read books, travel. I mean, I'm a big traveler. My husband and I are, the minute I come back from someplace, I'm already thinking about where am I going to go next. In fact, I'm starting that before I even am, taking the next trip. So
I
I
feel
think
that way about meals. I'm usually planning my next meal on before I'm even eating the current meal. But travel, that's huge. Do you have any big plans? I know you've been to Europe. Do you have any
well,
faraway plans?
Europe, quite often. I have a son who lives in Paris, so that's always a nice thing to go visit my family in Paris. And it also, I've had the luck to have galleries that represent me in Europe. And right now, we're planning a trip to Greece in October. We just got
Nice.
back from Paris and Croatia. So traveling is always a big motivator. I'm very inspired by beauty, by light, by nature, by architecture, by just the world. The world is a big oyster, as they say. I mean, we're so lucky that we're able in this time and age to get on an airplane and go somewhere. Can you imagine Lewis and Clark and what, you
No,
think about how people live
no.
in the past? We have so much available to us.
And you can,
How lucky are you?
I think life every day from my hot shower,
But it's true, or penicillin.
right? Just a
I
little
mean, the
thing.
little things we take for granted, things that people in other centuries, people who lived in the past,
Whew,
could do.
I know. And also locally, the culture, the art world in Los
Completely.
Angeles is
It's
so
great.
powerful.
So
And
powerful.
yeah, I know you're continuing to bring art to the world, but also you connect intergenerationally with folks. For example, Jeremy, who introduced us, what is he, 36 maybe?
You know what's so cute is Jeremy. We should explain. I met Jeremy because we have a friend in common, and my husband and I are, besides my own art, we are art collectors. And I often host different events in our home because people like to be here, and I like to share our place, and it helps them out. And so Jeremy hosted an event in our home, and that's how I met him. And as you said, Jeremy's in his 30s, and he somehow wrote me a note and thought about me, but he wasn't sure how old I was, and he asked. So Andy said, make sure she's over 65. I said, yes, Jeremy, I'm over 65. It's okay. He had no idea.
Ah.
So
And
cute.
as we continue to learn how to age out loud, listeners, we have to give permission for people to ask, "How old are you?" or "How many years have you been enjoying life?"
Doing years. And by the way, I'm actually proud. I would say there probably was a time when I was younger that I was a little more skirmish about mentioning my age. But now, like I said, I'm looking ahead. I can't wait to be in my 80s. I am looking forward to my 90s. I know that sounds crazy, but I think that you get so much more with age. You give up something, but you gain something else.
You sure do. And boy, that is the right age with attitude going on here. Now, I'm going to, if those of you on the watching this
Thank
on
you.
YouTube, you're going to see me pull up this wonderful, wonderful book that Laurie and her
My,
co-author
my
Joyce
co-author,
wrote,
Joyce. Yeah.
called, are you ready, listeners? Help, We Can't Stop Aging. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. And listeners, I just have to share a few of the reviews on here, okay? Quote, I highly recommend this charming book. I keep reading it over and over again. Cleopatra, a book for the ages. Queen Victoria, I plan on buying lots of copies and giving this wonderful book to all my girlfriends. Helen of Troy. I mean, this is so wonderful, but it's a book filled with Laurie's art and Joyce's poems, and they are so profound. How do you even know Joyce King? How do you say her last name?
Joyce King Heyraud, her husband
Hero.
is French. And actually, talk about the reviews. I have to admit, I wrote the reviews, and it's my quirky humor. And I think that's where this book came from. It started, I would say, really when I turned 65 and I began making artwork because I thought, you know what, we have to express what's going on with us, internally. And I was starting to feel, what does that mean to now be a senior citizen? So I began making artwork about it. And simultaneously, my friend Joyce, who has made poems or written poems her whole life, was writing poems. And we started talking about this. And during COVID, we said, let's collaborate and make a book. And I love the idea of books. Because I used to design books as a graphic designer when I was in my 20s and 30s. And I just love the format of books. And even though now everything is online, I still adore the idea of holding a book in my hand, and
Yes.
especially gift books and art books and things that you can put on your coffee table or give as a gift. So
Right.
we did this really to please ourselves. It wasn't like, oh, let's write a book and see how we can make a bestseller. No, it was done because we were expressing how we were feeling and having fun.
Well, I'm going to read one of the poems, everyone. It's
Good.
called Mixed Messages. Ointments on my elbows, ointments on my knees, ointments in my nasal passage when I start to wheeze, ointments on my eyelids, lotions on my face, not to speak of SPF and special makeup base, neuropathic ointments to soothe the pain or bruise, spread upon my sore foot when I put on my shoes, ointments on some private parts that I don't need to mention, so that I can activate some really hot intention. But urges from below can be a complicated matter. Is that a sexy signal or an overactive bladder? I mean, I just howled over that. So they're
How
fun.
good is she? She's
Oh,
fun, and that is it. With my art, her poems, and then we have quotes, as you know, in there that would hopefully inspire people, and
oh,
just little
so
tidbits.
inspirational.
Thank
And yeah, listeners, bear with me. I have to read you another one too because it's
you.
so
Good,
good. It's called
good, good, good.
Undercover, and the artwork that goes with it is so phenomenal. And I'll get some still images so I can pop them into the YouTube channel here. But this one, Undercover. A very long, long time ago, I had a kind of passion for keeping up to date with all the trends of current fashion. But now that I am older, I have changed my point of view. It does not really matter if my clothes are old or new. It seems the latest fashion is not focused upon clothes, but just how much of the body one is willing to expose. So, looking in my closet, it is easy to discover all my clothes are well designed to keep me undercover. So, I'm just going to pull myself up into full screen here for those watching video. Ta-da!
So
I,
that artwork, I had done the artwork, and then I just added the title of our book, but the artwork was something I had done. It's like I said, it's just me playing and having fun.
oh, it's so good. And folks,
But I
you,
have to tell you a
oh,
story,
go
though,
ahead.
if you let me interrupt
Yes.
you, how I
Yeah.
met Joyce. Joyce and I
Please.
had
Yeah.
known each other through a mutual dear friend of ours who introduced us. And when I was probably in my 30s when I met Joyce, and Joyce introduced me to my husband. So how dear is that?
Clappers out for that. Oh my gosh, that's the
She's
best.
special. So she's a very special person in my life. And she's like my big sister. By the way, full disclosure, Joyce is in her mid 80s.
Okay, listeners.
Okay.
Yeah, don't be caged by your age.
Age by your age.
You can visit helpwecan'tstopaging.com to purchase your copy of this fun, witty, and wise book or give it as a gift to someone for their home. And you have to follow Help We Can't Stop Aging on Instagram too, because they have the best memes, so much fun. The stories that you share on Instagram are outstanding. And I will have links for both everyone
Oh,
in
thank
the
you,
show
Andy.
notes.
So kind. Thank
Oh,
you. Well, the Instagram is mine. I just do it as fun. It's fun for me to just throw something on there.
well, and the whole thing, you had to figure out the publishing and printing and distribution. Did both of you have experience in that, or was that a new
Sure.
endeavor?
Well, I shouldn't say it. Joyce had a couple of books published many years ago, but when we started on this endeavor, I actually contacted a very dear friend of mine who is an art director at a very large publishing house. And I said, Michael, what do I do? And he said, listen, Laurie, if you go through a major publishing house, they're going to want to edit you. They're going to want to have a kind of control. If you're really interested in doing this on your own, self-publish. So then we began to look at, well, how do you do that? Like, again, Google it. How do we find out? What do we do? So we did some research, and we found a publisher who was in Eastern Europe, not a publisher, a printer. And I have an assistant, thank you very much, because I couldn't do this myself, who put the images up and put the poems and helped us put the book together. And we have self-printed, and we started with 300 copies. We said, let's start small and see how we do. And we are almost, I would say we're pretty much sold out of our first run. And we've already printed our second run. And after that, quite frankly, we would love to find distribution and go bigger. Right now, it's us doing it on our own, and we're amateurs. But and the other thing is, we couldn't do it on Amazon because I don't know if you know, but Amazon either requires you to self-publish through them, or you have to be big. They have these fulfillment centers. You have to have like a gazillion copies, and it
And
was
they're not as
complicated.
and they're not as flexible as your independent printer, right? As far as size, they want
Exactly,
you
you're
to fit
limited.
into parameters, and you really don't have the control over the look and feel, which is
Which
fine if you have a how-to nonfiction book, or you've got a bodice ripper, that's great. But when you're putting out art and poetry, and it's all about the look and feel and experience of
Yeah.
for your readers, it's
Be
hard to.
self-published. So, as you know, we talked about earlier, you invent as you go. And we
That's
are
right.
actually still inventing. So, any of you out there that can help me, contact me if you can help me, with wider distribution or how do I go forward. We just thought, let's do this baby steps at a time and let it unfold.
That's so important. And also, you built up your online presence. As we learned in episode 2, everyone, from Mildred Mills with her book, Daddy's House, she wrote it, was ready to publish it, and learned that she had to first get a social media presence going. So she actually launched a podcast, got her Instagram and Facebook
Okay.
feeds up, and then she was able to get a publisher. There's all sorts of quirky things you have to do nowadays, but you and Joyce have proven that the book has value, that folks are buying it and purchasing it. So it may be easier. Listeners, reach out to Laurie. And again, you can
Please,
find
please.
her on
We
Instagram
need
if you.
you. We need each other. It does take a village, as we know. And honestly, I am very dependent on my friends, on the community. They've been enormously helpful.
Well, I love seeing this level of creativity and being willing to do hard things and try new things through the aging process. And to have this representation and be able to show yours and Joyce's book to others, I just think it is such a gift to the world. But let's talk a little bit about ageism. How would you like to see society and corporations view folks over 60? You're living a vibrant, amazing life at 72. You, of course, like me, you've been unemployable for forever, but you had no intention of retiring, but you see the beauty brands, you see the corporations that want to kick people out early, you see all the messaging out there about how you're supposed to look, feel, and be after the age of 65. And frankly, the level of invisibility that we experience
That's true.
as we get past the age of 60 is unacceptable. It's wasting generations of talent, whether it's within a corporation or like yours, being able to be fully expressed till the day you die. What are your thoughts around that?
Well, my thoughts are probably the same as yours, that we have something to offer. We've got wisdom. Again, we've lost something. Maybe we're not as cute in our little bikinis, but my gosh, we have so much more wisdom. We have more confidence. We have so much more experience to bring to the table. And, I think that we have to change that attitude. Other cultures, as you know, embrace their older people, and they look up to them. We want to bury ours in retirement homes and not deal with them. I mean, it's frightening. But the good news is, I see it changing because of people like us, other women our age, men and women, who are embracing this time and are doing it. And so that's the good news. I can't give any advice about corporations because obviously I don't work for one and I don't know how that system works. But even if you have to leave, the idea that independently you
Right.
can do something. You can be a mentor. You can create your own book. It doesn't have to be a book, obviously. You can do whatever it is. We have the world to make decisions and do things. And I think we shouldn't be afraid to embrace ideas and new ideas, as you mentioned, and not be
Right.
afraid to do something new. I think everybody has a little secret of something that they maybe always wanted to do but didn't do. And maybe that's the time to try it.
Right? Why not?
Why
And
not
explore and pull on those
explore?
threads and be
Mhm.
willing to go back to school or take a class or study something new and different, or again, watch some YouTube videos to figure things out
Mhm.
and find out what fuels your passion, what's in alignment with your personality. And who knows, you might also add more income, because I think we know, Lori, that if you've made it past the age of 60, without any major illnesses, the studies are showing you've got a good chance of living another 20, 30 years.
40, 50. I don't know. We don't know.
We don't
Science, we don't know. I mean, but at least embrace the now and go, everyone has to be true to their own voice. I do what I do because it's what I love, it's who I am. But whatever you are, if you're an engineer, if you're a pilot, whatever it is, there's things that you have to offer.
Oh, that's such a beautiful message to anyone tuning in. Listeners, let us know how you are aging at this time and at this stage of your life, and what ideas and thoughts that might be percolating in your beautiful brains and hearts that you might be afraid to try, right? We're here to help you, provide resources and inspiration to help you thrive in your 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. I love Judith Kernick in episode 11 sharing with us that we're not calling these the retirement years. These are the Renaissance years from 55 to 80. And from 80 to 100, it's the legacy years. This is
That's
where you're
beautiful. It's
going to
beautiful.
be leaving more of who you be with the world. And then anything over 100 is extra. That we're seeing a lot more, right, Laurie, of
We
folks.
are seeing a lot more. And I also really am offended by the word anti-aging. I think we should need to say pro-aging.
Yeah. And I'm seeing it getting better in Europe.
I think
We're
it's,
s-
yeah,
yeah, and you've been there more frequently
exactly.
and recently, but the brands are starting to help women say, well, let's bring out what you do have. Let's bring out your eyes. Let's bring out your lips. Let's bring out your brows and maybe style your hair or whatever that looks like or feels like. I think it's about enhancing. And I know for me, listeners, since I started this podcast, it's so much easier for me when I look in the mirror because I'm embracing my age after decades of being told to be ashamed of my age. And
Andy, I mean that, oh, that's so sad to me to hear that about being ashamed of aging. I mean, yeah, I know
oh,
it's out there, but it's sad.
it is sad and it's hard. I understand. I have a deep empathy because everywhere you turn there, the commercials saying you got to get rid of those wrinkles. Now it's like my wrinkles, my brown spots, my barnacles, whatever.
Whatever. I don't know if the listeners know about Iris Appel, who is this, she just passed away this year. You know who she is. The most amazing woman, lived to, I believe, 104. Is that right? And something like that.
Yep.
He was so incredible in embracing style and fashion and just having the best time in her 90s that you can imagine. And look her up.
And she did not become known until she was 80 years old.
That's what I mean. That's another example of those women that actually are having their moment now. I feel like I'm a late bloomer. I feel like I'm having the best time right now. And
Ah, I
I've
love
got
it.
another, in fact, Joyce and I are working on our second book.
See,
So
that's what we want to hear here.
forward, look forward. Yeah. We
That's
can't
what
go
we
back. We can't take back what happened, but we can create what can be the future.
It's true. And you have to do what's right for your body, folks. Ginny
Mhm.
McCall is in an episode, and she is the oldest ninja warrior competitor
Wow.
ever at the age of 72. She even made the Guinness Book of World Records. She
Uh,
never even lifted a weight until she was 63. And it was her goal to just do one pull up, and it took her a whole year.
I love
However, her daughter is a well known American Ninja Warrior competitor. And so the next thing she knew, she was on seasons 8, 9, and 15. Her body could do that. I can tell you, my body couldn't do that
my body can't
now.
do that. No. There's
No,
things I can't do, but I embrace what I can do. I walk a lot. I love walking and being in nature. Hello, it doesn't cost any money to go take a walk.
I'm right there with you on the walking. And I live in New England. So, of course, I have my indoor floor
Mhm.
treadmill, just the floor treadmill. And it helps in those days that are too hot or too cold or just too miserable out there. Whereas you in LA, I lived in LA, so beautiful.
Morning. I mean, it's just beautiful. I love it. I mean, I don't even mind walking in the rain. There's something just delicious about that, right?
Right. Oh, I agree 100% on that. How can folks work with you, follow you, learn from you? Where are you? I brought up, of course, helpwecan'tstopaging.com and look for you there. Where else can folks connect with you, Lori?
You can also follow me on my personal Instagram account, Laurie Raskin, and Laurie Raskin Fine Art. I don't post that often on that one, but I post on Laurie Raskin. Please follow me and message me. And believe it or not, I'll message you back. I'm there for
Yay.
you. I think that's the thing, is we have to be there for each other. I do that sometimes. I'll be a fan of a person and I'll message them and say, I just want you to know, I love what you're doing. I'm a fan.
You are so generous that way, Laura. You add wind to people's sails like nobody's business. It's
Mm,
so delicious to get a message from you. And I know for me personally, it just lifts me right up. And I feel like, whew, I can soar a little higher today
thank
because
you. No,
Lori.
but I'm available. So please, and info at Help We Can't Stop Aging. That
Yeah.
is a way to meet me, or at Laurie Raskin on my Instagram account. That would probably be the best way.
Oh,
And thank you. I appreciate hearing from people. We want to know. We want to know how we can be useful. I mean, that's a good thing.
it absolutely is. And it takes a community to
It takes
navigate the murky waters of aging, and having the representation of someone like you, Lori, out there as an artist who's still thriving and creating and publishing is so wonderful and so inspirational. I'm so grateful that you joined me for this delicious conversation.
Oh my
Thank you
gosh,
so
it's
much.
such an honor to be with you, Andy. And again, I am your fan and I just adore you. And thank you, my fellow Leo girlfriend.
That's right. Leo, good night. Our season's coming up,
It
folks.
is. And you know what we do? We just take the month. So be ready.
Oh, get ready. Everybody who
Yeah.
follows me knows I've got the
Uh,
lion with the curlers in the hair, the lion with the sparkles. It's all
yeah.
about us. I'm so grateful that you tuned in, listeners.
Yes.
Remember, you have so much to give. Don't let those internalized ageist beliefs prevent you from pursuing new dreams and opportunities, or even publishing a book. No matter what age you're at, you are relevant, and we need you to share your fully expressed self. Thanks again, Lori, for joining me for this delicious con. Bye, everyone. See you next time. Blowing you kisses from Boston. Mwah. Listeners, I'm so grateful you carved out time to tune in and grab the gems from this delicious conversation. Be sure to hop on over to Don't Be Caged by Your Age on LinkedIn or Instagram to share your thoughts about ageism and unretirement. Because in this space, your age doesn't define you, it refines you. If you are inspired by a story you hear, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, share, rate, and review the podcast. To receive an alert whenever a new show is posted, please join the Don't Be Caged by Your Age newsletter. Every month, you'll receive links to the podcast and helpful resources for creating possibilities for your unretirement days. Thank you for tuning in. I am so excited to hear how you found ways to thrive after 65. Waving from Boston, cheers.